Castano. They're two folks that basically help make the wheel go around. They are, Jenny's a buyer, and Rebecca is our procurement coordinator. And these two ladies work on all the solicitations that we'll talk about today when we go through this process. So afterward, if you want to chat with them, they'll be here to have a further discussion. We have some folks from the SBDC, and you want to go ahead and introduce yourselves?
Absolutely, yeah. My name is JJ. I'm with the Small Business Development Center. To my right is my friend Tony Lassie. He's a former banker of many years. He's giving back through this program. And in the back, I have Shavante. I know she doesn't want to be referred to.
So can you get in the camera because I'm
Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah. Well, anyways, we're here to support you. You'll hear a little bit about us in a few minutes. So thank you, Brian.
So, what's the purpose of being here today? We, as a town, feel that it's important to have these kind of communications with you as suppliers, vendors. Procurement is sometimes that gives anxiety to people when they're starting off to say, how do I get into business with government? How do I get started? So with us, we try to break down those barriers and communicate with you and say, there's a process. There's a process to do this, and if you follow that process, you learn that process, you may be successful. You know, one of the biggest things is people try and they get confused, frustrated, and they say, this is not worth it. But if you learn, we have vendors that compete all the time, and they've got the rhythm, they got the process, and they do compete and win. So today, we're going to talk about how to get you started down that road. If you have not, how many people here right now are basically doing business with government? You've competed in bids, you've won bids, okay? Yes? No? Yes? No? Okay, okay. And what line of business are you in? I'm sorry, I didn't think it.
Catering.
What's that?
Catering.
Catering.
Oh, catering, okay, thank you. Sorry, couldn't hear it back there. All right, and I know what you do as far as bonds go, right? Okay. All right, so you guys have a little bit of diversity in regards to what the specialties are, so I'll kind of touch on each one of those when we go through this presentation to kind of give you some focal areas of, hey, this would be a good point. So again, starting off, we're going to talk about some of the things. These are the topics that we're going to be talking about today. And I'm going to be speaking to you in regards to not only the town of Davie, there's going to be a cross-section about government procurement and local procurement as well. We are a part of the Southeast Florida chapter of NIGP, which we'll talk about much later, but that is an organization that makes up 50 different agencies across the Tri-County area. So we communicate with each other on a regular basis. So again, we have some knowledge of what they do, and they have knowledge of what we do. So we all work together, and we meet with them once a month, a group of them. So again, I'm going to try to help you along the way, so it's not just Davie, but our main focus today is going to be the town of Davie on how we do business. But I'm going to try to give you some extra tips on if you can expand your business on not just Davie. Okay? So we're going to talk about thresholds, procurement methods, commodities, notifications, procurement website, local preference here down in Davie and Broward County, contracting methodologies, and public procurement fundamentals. So these are our procurement thresholds. And these just changed almost a year and a couple of days now. August 4th of last year, we changed our thresholds. Our thresholds were very outdated, and we brought those thresholds up. Obviously, the economy's changing, and spending is more. Obviously, things are costing more. So we said this is not feasible. We had a $2,500 single purchase limit. Now we brought it up to $5,000. So we've raised these limits, and that helps us to move things along a little bit quicker, because when you're talking about small dollar purchases and things like that, we don't want to get into a grinding process when things can be done. So our small purchase threshold is up to $5,000. So if a department is coming to you and asking you for a quotation up to $5,000, they pretty much will review it to make sure you're a legitimate business and will process the order. Or they can use their procurement card. So it's one of those things that it's a pretty easy process. It's not really complex. Where we step into a little bit more complex process, where we get into documentation and some of the advertisement aspects of things, is where we step into our informal. And informal, again, in itself means that we're not bringing into our town council or our town administrator. Okay, so it's gonna come to me, I can review those bids, and I can award those bids. So any bids up to $35,000, which is the limit of 287.017.2, that's the Florida statute, and we have it categorized by that statute because if the legislation decides to change that threshold, just say this year they want to say they raise up to 45,000, we can move our thresholds without any adjustments going back to our town council. They've agreed upon this methodology. This is set by the Florida state legislator, and basically we can adjust our threshold by that numbers. The same thing goes for the next category. Informals, we advertise these out typically 7 to 10 days, very low time. Really not complex solicitations. Sometimes it's projects that are, again, up to $35,000. So they're from $5,000 to $35,000 projects. And, you know, again, we can award them, probably, some of them could be done within 3 weeks. Okay, 3-week time frame, that's a pretty quick time frame to turn these around. Once we step into the formal threshold, that gets a little bit more complicated. That's where we step over the line of the 35,000 and up, okay? Is everybody with me on that so far? Pretty simple. So 35,000 and above, our documents become more complex. There's a lot more terms and conditions. There's a lot more documentation to complete, and you need to read through that documentation, and we'll talk about that, okay? Because that is the key here. Some of that stuff is your tripping points. Some of those things that you look at and you go, okay, where do I start with reading this stuff? There's a lot of terms and conditions, there's documents to fill out, there's things that I have to provide. Do I have these and where can I get these? And again, we also have some gentlemen here today that can help you along the way with this, if that's what you need. That's kind of the dual purpose of having the SBDC with us today. They have the tools and the means to help you along the way. We can't help you as a procurement department to help you fill out those documents. They can help you do that. We can't. Okay, so that's why we're telling you what you need to do, and these guys are being able to tell you how to do this or what needs to be done and guide you through that process. So again, formal sealed bids again are, you know, they come in different ways. They come through a sealed bid. A sealed bid is typically a defined specification. It's clear. It's what we want. It's going to have exactly the way we want it. That's pretty straightforward. You should be able to, if it has a manufacturer number on it, simple enough. Manufacturer number, I want this part, I need this item, that's what we're bidding on. Or if it's these details of that specification. We don't need deviations. We just need you to bid on those. When we get into proposals and qualifications, that's a little bit different. Proposals are more solution-based. So we're going to come to you and say, we need a solution. We need to have something. We know what we want to do, but you guys are the experts in the field of doing this. Provide us a proposal for doing this. This is one of the things that, you know, you get to be creative and say, you know what, I know what you need, and this is my solution on how I would go about this, and this is the price that I give you. So it's a little bit different than basically just saying, us telling you, you know, this is what we want, provide it to us. You can now help to set that stage. And we'll go through some of the processes of how that is and how it gets evaluated. The last piece is qualifications. And that's typically in the area of architects, engineers, consultants, surveyors, planners, mappers. Okay, so that really falls into the professional services level, and Florida statute dictates to us to say we have to follow a process of qualification only. So we have to really pick the best from a qualification standpoint, then we negotiate pricing. Okay, so these are just some of the touch points on actually on the types of solicitations we do. these are all the departments we service. So we cover from Band-Aids to buildings, okay? That's pretty much it. We cover from the fire department on their gauze wrap, anything like that, to, we're gonna be doing construction for a new town hall in the near future. I don't know if you guys know, we're here temporarily over here in the town. We've relocated our buildings. We had to buy those buildings. We had to go through the procurement process of getting those, getting all this set up. We were involved in all of that process to get here to, and it was more than just go buy some buildings and put them on, there's furniture, all that setup. Now, we're gonna live here for a couple of years and we're gonna be going over to a brand new town hall. So we have to tear down that town hall. So that's a demolition contract that we just took responses on, and we're getting ready to award that. So we're gonna tear that down. Now, next, we're gonna be doing what's called a design build. So that's gonna go up, and we have already a conceptual design for a 4-story building. So we're gonna put that out for a design build, and that will actually be one of the projects, a large project, somewhere in the $30+ million range. So that's, again, take that Band-Aid building, that's everything in between for us, okay? So we get to do a lot of fun stuff. We get to learn about all of these departments. So these ladies here are the ones working with them, and I have 2 other teammates who couldn't make it, but these are their departments, and so they're working with them to learn how they do business. And we spend about $36 million through our area, okay, just through us, as far as going through the procurement process per year. That's what we've looked at. So, where can I find my opportunities to basically bid? Let me ask a few questions here. Yeah, I'm interactive. Where do you typically look for your bids?
We look on websites, we look within, we try to put ourselves on emailing lists, on contact lists, and
Okay.
then we do general searches within counties and cities that we are permitted to market to.
Okay. Any particular product that you use?
No, I mean, we do use DemandStar.
Okay.
We have an account with DemandStar, so we did that. We used to have, I forgot which one yeah, BidSync, that's it.
Okay.
But we haven't used that lately, being that it's more of a larger county, that I've been used to seeing there.
Okay. So how you?
Similar to what she said, a couple of things, the website
Right?
and DemandStar. That's
Okay.
what I look for.
Okay.
And then I came one time and I chatted with the town engineer, John.
Okay. All right. One last one.
All the same.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So again, you're finding that we do a lot of the same. And again, we do have our own website that we're driving the information from. We're the ones setting it out there. We're the ones putting that information out ourselves. So whatever we're putting out, and you can go to the town website, to the bid notice board, and you can see all of our bids and all of the information we have. The one thing that sets us apart in our website a little bit differently, even from DemandStar from the standpoint, is you can pick our notification up on DemandStar, but we do things a little bit differently here at the town. We record a lot of these meetings by video, okay? So we're video recording today. So when we go through any processes, like a bid opening, we record that. So you don't even have to be here. If you don't want to, you can just watch the video and you can see what actually was read out loud. You know, it's not anything in just cryptic kind of information, but that's the same thing we do for review committees and presentations and all of those types of processes we put on our webpage. We put out all the documentation, all the addendas, every bit of information so that you as a vendor or supplier can get this information. So you can see what's going on. So our page has a lot of content that DemandStar won't have because DemandStar doesn't allow us to put that much content based on storage and usage and stuff. I know that our folks here at the town we just had to change over to a different platform since we use so much content, but the thing is that it's important for you to see what is happening in the process. If you miss that meeting or anything, we're very transparent in the way we do business. And if you have questions, ask your questions. So along the way, if it's something that's on the solicitation and it doesn't make sense to you, you have a period of time where you can actually ask questions. Everybody's familiar with the addenda process, the RFI process? No, yes?
No.
So, nope. So during a solicitation, once you advertise the solicitation, from our standpoint, and we write something like square peg round hole, doesn't match in your business line, which happens because again, we have a line of thinking that this makes sense to us, but from your business model, it doesn't make sense to you. So you have the ability to write it and a question into us and say, you know, would you consider doing this? This makes more sense, or, you know, why are you doing it this way? Or you can even say, you know, whatever question it could possibly be. We'll bring that back to the department and say, did you mean to say this by accident? You put this, or was there a problem, or was it some specification issue? And then sometimes it's corrected, you know, and you brought something to our attention that we weren't paying attention to. We were missing something, you know, we didn't have that next piece to go to finish, to complete what we get to. And if we actually bid the project, we'd be like, have that gap about this big or something or whatever. That's, you know, something that's important because again, you're the subject matter experts in the things you do, and you do this all day long. We don't. So there's, you know, we're working with this stuff, but you're selling this stuff or you're doing these things, and we're missing a step along the way. You know, you're in the disaster recovery, clean, and we could be writing a specification for cleanup, but we don't have anything for sheathing and stuff like that for mold and stuff. And we don't have that type of activity to do, right? So you see that's missing, I would say that's either typically included in the process, or do you want that as a separate line item for pricing? Because, you know, so again, you have to read through it because it might not even mention the specifications. And assume, you know what happens when we assume, right? So we don't want to assume because our thoughts may be completely different than your thoughts when it comes to those types of things. So let's get it down on paper. So when we get to an award process, we're not going, well, we thought you meant this and you basically were supposed to do this, and that wasn't the case. So again, going through the procurement process, this is how we actually post one of the ways we post our information out through the bid notice board. So when you register, again, diversity here as far as, you asked about roadway construction, right? Okay, so we got roadway construction, we got consumables, police, fire, rescue related, professional services, and all other services and products and miscellaneous. So we try to break it down into categories of groupings, or you can choose the big bucket and you'll get basically Band-Aids to buildings. So that's not a bad thing. So sometimes, like the gentleman in the back of the room who does bonding, you may want to consider that. It might be like playing Space Invaders because you're going to be hitting your email all day long as far as those types of things. But at the end of the day, you're going to be capturing some things because there's a projects that need bonding. But you know, you can hit into some of these things where it's roadway construction and obviously professional services. So again, be careful what you ask for because on ours, we've only break it down. We don't have the capacity to do what we have with another solution. Following me? Okay. All right. So we have a page called Supplier Central, and we do our best to give you information on, you know, different things, how to do business. Again, we put a little brochure out there for you. We have a requirements guide. When you're doing business with us, you know, there's certain things that we require you to do. You get awarded a contract, you need to put, if you have a contract, put your contract number on your quotations. Put your contract number on your invoices. Those are types of things that we want to see from an accounting standpoint, because when we get audited later, they want to know it matches. And that's part of my team has to do that as part of their process. where we go through the whole process, and then once we get a purchase order out there, put the services, my team reviews your invoices before it goes to accounts payable. And they're gonna make sure it matches up against the contract, and if it doesn't, it's coming back to you. And then we're gonna say, go look at our contract, and we need to make sure everything matches up. So, make sure you are following that process. So, vendor requirements are important, making sure that you're utilizing those. And just a side note, if you get awarded a contract, you're here today. I don't know where you sit in your organization as far as that goes, but it's highly important. If you're the person that's going through the contracting process, and you're that person that said, okay, I put the documents in, I awarded the bid, I got the bid award, I went through that. Now you take that document, the biggest thing we have is that disconnect that it doesn't go to your AP department, or it doesn't go to your receivables department, or it doesn't go to the billing department. Those communications on that contract. So we really stress that a lot, that says, please make sure that you communicate to your company, you now have this bid and you should be using this pricing for this bid, that contract, because there comes that disconnect that we see that vendors don't communicate to their own folks, that, and we get billing for those services and it's out of whack. So it's one of those things we want to make sure that we close that loop. And a lot of times, we want to make sure our departments are meeting with you so that it pushes that information into your department or your people, whoever's doing your billing. So when they do that billing, that we know that it's correct. So just a thought. But again, we have that in our requirements, and then other documents that we have that are useful for your review. We also post information such as upcoming contractual, opportunities that are coming. This is a little bit outdated since it's a picture, but we put some of the items out there, just letting you know what's coming up in the future, okay? So, and we put, like our vendor training and other documents there. Any questions at this point? All right, so we talked about Demand Star, right? So Demand Star is one of the products that are out there that governments use. It's, like we talked about BidSync, Demand Star, there's other ones, Ion Wave, there's a couple others. How do you find this stuff? You're gonna have to look. Demand Star has been used, it's free for us, okay? It's not free for you, but it's inexpensive. Last time I checked, it was like $25 per county. It's pretty cheap. So, if you're doing business and you wanna do business, I know that Cooper City's using it, Sunrise is using it, a couple other places are using it. But there has been other changes, and like you said, counties, basically you see, Fort Lauderdale, Broward County, and stuff like that, they're using BidSync. For us, BidSync's very expensive. It costs us a lot of money, and we don't really see the value, until something significantly changes or we have a problem, we're not changing from it. It's fairly simple for us to use, and it works for us. So again, it gets the information out. We see a lot of responses from it. So these are some of the bids that we put out as far as just some statistics. We've had 155 bids published this year, 128 awarded, we got 3 open as of this last slide. And again, so they have 2,100 new suppliers that come on and 98 new government entities. So again, this is how, some of the statistics that they have, that they provide to us on a dashboard. And this is how we look at, 3 active out there under evaluation. This tells us what we have going on. When they look for registering this gets a little bit more granular, which is good for you on that aspect, because again, you don't want to get emails that already get how many emails you get about a warranty for your car, or that phone call you get. You don't want to have that, right? So you want to get basically kind of drilled into the categories that you are really specifically defined in. And as you go through, they'll ask you to register that, so it kind of breaks it down to your category, your area of business when you're doing things. So this is a little bit go that direction because you get the notification. You can get the notification through this process, and then if you see something from us, you can go over to our website as well. You can do the download there, but again, our content, as far as videos and all that other stuff, doesn't hurt to look at ours. But no matter what you do, you're gonna have to respond through DemandStar, and I'll tell you why, okay? If you're gonna sign up using the town or anything like that, we only accept documents now through e-bidding, okay? COVID changed everything for us. COVID was like the point where I think every government was like, how do we do business? This really became a challenge because we had to have open public meetings, they had to change things, and then we didn't want to handle paper documents. We did not want to be dealing with this stuff, so we had to switch over to e-bidding.
God bless you.
And what's that?
I said God bless you for
Yeah,
that.
and honestly, the way we've changed to do business with WebExes and hybrid pre-solicitation meetings and things like that has been a great advantage. So sometimes we do them via WebEx, sometimes we do them on hybrid, if it depends on the complexity of it. But that's made it easier for you to actually see things, like our evaluation committees. We fill the room with an evaluation committee. I'm only kidding. But now we see participation from people sitting in the room, and we see it online. We had evaluation committee yesterday. We had 3 people online. We had, 2 people in the room. So again, we're seeing a mix of it, but you don't have to leave your desk. You can see it from your hand, from your phone, kind of thing like that. So we're doing business more electronically, less paper-wise. So again, online bid submissions. This is one of our requirements. One of the things that with online submissions, it puts it into a lockbox. Okay, so we can't see it. It's not like we can go and access it. We can't see it until the point when that bid basically becomes available in its time. They control that process. There's no way for us to pull it, to see it. We can't tell what you put for documents. And if you have a complication with it, we have a full, in the back of our documents, we have a full breakdown of who to call, who to contact, customer service, walks you through the process. And we've had people that we would think would never be able to submit via online bidding. And they did. And we're talking about people that are, ranchers and things of that nature, because we're Davie, that, tech is not their deal. So we were shocked, but they actually submitted an online bid. So they can do it, certainly can do it. You guys, it's just a matter of going through the process, and again, it's very simple to go through it. It saves you time. I used to get such heartache sitting there, and I see as we're going through a bid opening in the window, someone doing a, airport run kind of thing like that, all the way across the parking lot going, I gotta get there. And we go, sorry, and they're there going, I'm gonna lose my job. And I'm like, that's not my fault. I'm sorry to hear that, but it's heartbreaking. It really is. It's heartbreaking for that. E-bidding takes that away from us, so at least we don't have to see them.
That's right. That's right.
I'm only kidding. Right, exactly. No, but I don't have to see the screen aspect of it. But no, all kidding aside, again, they demand submit your stuff early. If you're having a problem, don't do it at the last second. Even with the, running up and doing that, don't wait till the last 15 minutes and come down the turnpike at high speeds. Our police department will happy to give you a notice of your speeding, and you missed your bid opening. So, again, e-bidding for us, most agencies have gone this way. It's kind of the new way of doing things for us. Any questions on this project?
Excuse me, Ryan.
Sure.
I'm gonna go, 'cause I have a meeting.
Okay, have a great day.
Bye-bye.
Nice meeting you.
All right. So, this is kind of a toolbox, what we're trying to help you with, because again, as you begin the process of doing bids with government, scratching your head a little bit going, what do I need to do? We have a lot of the same requirements. All right, there's a lot of things that we have that other agencies are gonna ask you the same. So build yourself a portfolio, you know, put it in a electronic portfolio, because obviously paper isn't, you know, something, but build yourself an electronic portfolio. And these are the items that we suggest you put in there, okay? Build your company profile, history, mission statements, tell us about yourself. You know, this is something that you want to put your best foot forward, like going to a job interview. You know, you're selling yourself. Don't just throw numbers down and say, here we are. This tells us more about your company that you can do it. It gives us the confidence that says, I'm dealing with a company that is proud of what they do in their business, and we know they're gonna be successful with it. Not just, I'm gonna do this really cheap, but I might not get it done, you know, and we wanna see some success from you. So again, company contract information page, make sure you have that, put all the information. Who do we need to reach out to for your AR? Who do we need to talk to for your billing? Those types of stuff. Build it into a key thing so that you do it once, you can forget it, and just resubmit it with all your packages. You can put this stuff together. Again, you transmit a letter, anything of that nature, profiles of, you know, put color images. If you know, we did a scrap metal contract. Okay, scrap metal, pretty non-sexy type contract, right? Pick up garbage metal and basically throw it. They took pictures of their trucks. They had their employees. They basically took a picture of their yard. You know, they really took it above, but in a scrap metal, so it's dirty piles of metal. But that shows that they, you know, really are in their business and they're professional. It also showed us the mounds that they have of scrap metal that they deal with. It also showed us the equipment that they had. Some of those things that you don't even think about, you're going, wow, they got the capacity, they got the crushers, they got the things. And those pictures say 1,000 words more on some things that you don't even think about. Okay? And it may be intentional, it may be unintentional to work for you or against you. But again, organizational chart, resumes, proof of insurance. Okay, insurance is really one of those things that you need to look through and make sure you're paying attention to the insurance guidelines. Typically ours is $1 million and $1 million per occurrence. So again, that's some agencies have gone to $2 million as a standard. We're still at $1 million, but you're gonna need to have that. You're gonna need automotive insurance. Okay, it's one of those things, if you're coming on our property, you're gonna have to have automotive liability just the same. Why do I need to have that? You crash into something here at the town, your automotive liability kicks in. If you're coming on site here, you're gonna be required to have automotive liability. Your W-9, again, we wanna know that you're a legitimate business. Your equipment lists, client references. You know, if you basically got references, tell your people if you're gonna be submitting a bid package and say, please be on the lookout, or please respond. You know, find people that you can basically rely on, because a lot of times with client references, we get nothing, you know, and that's one of those things. Get letters of recommendation, get some of those things, put them in there, just that they've done business with you. Again, it kind of tells us, we can reach out to them and say, hey, how did your experience go? They've given you a good recommendation, let's get a little bit more details. Subcontractor information, if you have subcontractors and you use those, tell us about those folks. They may be great, we may have had bad experience with them, we may ask you to not use those. And again, copies of license and certificates, primes and such, just the same. Biggest failure we see on things is certifications, requirements, and licensing. People do not provide that stuff, they don't read the details, not looking at these things. Have the stuff ready at your availability so that you see the word license in there, throw all the licenses. Throw everything you have in there as far as I'm concerned. If you have general contractor, electrical contractor, whatever, you know, it's, again, you're putting your best foot forward as far as MOT certification. What do they call it now?
TCC.
I can't remember that. I'll call it MOT till I die. So basically, one of those things.
I think we're traffic control.
Anyway, yeah, I'm too old school.
Yeah, I know MOT.
Yep, MOT's old.
Yeah.
So again, going on with my talking points here, fill out all your forms. You know, go through, make sure you're filling out all the required documentation. That documentation, start leaving that stuff off, then we don't have it, we're gonna have to chase you back for it, or we're gonna basically not take your bid. So it's gonna be one way or another. In some agencies, you don't fill out the information, they're gonna throw you out. We try to look at it from the standpoint of what's in the best interest of the town. If it's something that's gonna be a financial impact to us, or there's gonna be a disadvantage that you're gonna have, or you're gonna have an advantage and there's a disadvantage to other suppliers, we're throwing you out. Okay, that's a major irregularity. If it's something that basically just needs to be corrected, we'll tap you on the shoulder and say, hey, please fill this out once, we'll give you a time frame, and if you don't, then you're done. That happens, we do that, but I can't stress enough, fill out all the forms, go through that, don't get thrown out for something like that. Make sure you sign the forms. That's one of the ones we'll throw you out, okay? Not signing your bid form. That basically is your commitment to submitting your bid. That's a critical failure for yourself. We get thrown out on that. From us, you're done. You don't sign your bid form, you didn't commit to the solicitation, we're not gonna consider you. Be consistent. Make sure that when you're going through your document, and again, it ties into the second one is correct agency name. We see proposals, we see bids, they call it the city of Davie. Well, we're the town of Davie, all right? They've taken it from, I've seen Sunny Isles Beach and some of our stuff like that before, that they've just recopied their names and replaced and fill. I get it, but have somebody proofread it.
That's right.
It's not just about, the people that is reading it. This stuff goes to our town council.
Yeah.
These documents, when we ramp up, the town council is gonna be reading this, and they're gonna look and say, these people don't even know the name of our company, so it does definitely show what, how much you're actually, committed to what you're doing. You follow through with this and you're calling us something else. It's important to do that. So again, make sure you go through this stuff. Check your math. I can't tell you how many times we've seen mathematical errors. And we always look at unit pricing when it comes to math errors, but we've had to go back, and Rebecca is like, okay, sorry, your math is wrong, here's your bid number. A little embarrassing, and they have to go back and sign off on the unit pricing, or their math doesn't make sense and they get thrown out. So, they're doing new math, or what do they call it, Common Core or something, because we have no idea what they're doing, and we can't even figure it out. So, we're going, okay, thanks anyway, and try again. Know your competition, all right? So when you're doing this, you have an advantage. You have an advantage as a contractor dealing with government. You're not gonna have this in the private sector. The one thing you have access to is public records law,
That's right.
okay? So chapter 119 of the Florida statute says that you are allowed to ask for prior contracts, information. You can't get what's the current as far as right now until we get through the bidding process, but you can look at old contracts to see where that is at. Use that to your knowledge to basically say, am I even gonna be able to be in a game? If I'm doing services and just say that we're seeing prices at $110 for something, and you're, $250 all day long, you're gonna go, either I'm gonna have to reevaluate what I'm doing, or that's not my game, that's not what I wanna do, And that being said, prices do change over 4 years during that contract period. All those things taken into consideration, our landscaping contracts have gone up every year. That's one of the things that we've seen prices jump from there. But at least it gives you a gauge to say where they're at and where you're at, So we have pumps and motor bids, we have those out there. We have time and labor materials and stuff like that. If your costs are union-based and these aren't, and someone's bidding in that, you may need to take that into consideration, and that happens, and sometimes it doesn't. But at least you can do that through the public records requests. And on our town website, we talked about how much content we put on there. You can go find it yourself. That's why we put that out there. We put all the bid submissions, everything there. we'll tell you, just go to the webpage, go look for it yourself, because you'll see all the responses, all the pricing, everything from those information from those bids. That's us, that's the town of Davie. Not a lot of agencies do that, we do it, it's self-serving, it's transparent, and from our auditor standpoint, it makes it easier, because then when an auditor is asking us for information, we tell them, go look at the webpage, you know, because we don't have to go digging through stuff, it's there, it's transparent. Again, check with your list of references. I told you again before, anybody that has a reference or anything like that, tell them, hey, you're gonna be getting a call. Don't put it on ignore, or, you know, again, I know that we get these, you know, car warranty ones. If it comes up the town of Davie, you know, pick it up, or, you know, whatever agency, just the same. Are required attachments included, addendas, bids, things of that nature. We talked about addendas a little bit earlier, right? We talked about that process of asking the question, and then we put those responses to back out to you, everybody. So you'll ask a question, hey, this doesn't fit in this thing, you know, we give you an answer that says, hey, you're right, but we tell everybody. We post it out on the webpage as an addenda that says, we give the question and we give the answer. And it may be, yes, this has to change, and this is the new specification, please use this going forward. That becomes part of the contract. We may change bid form pricing. It may be a bid pricing change. You have to use the new bid form. Use the new bid form, don't use the old bid form. And you have to include those. You have to sign them and send them in. So that's a requirement you have to do. You're gonna be on every level of agreements that you come across from bids, you're gonna see that requirement. Okay, that is something that all agencies, because it is changing the context of the contract. Okay, everybody's clear on that? Questions? Good so far? Okay. All right, last thing, don't check everything before packaging it up, or putting it in the computer now, I should say. Have somebody read it. Somebody go over it, proof it. Again, this is a contract, it could be a 4-year contract. Take the extra steps to get your best foot forward on this stuff, because it could be 4 years, so you basically have to do this again for at least that agency. You get a contract, and we'll talk about why. There's some benefits to having a contract with a town or agency. There's some things that are beneficial, and I'll talk about it later. Okay, I'm gonna turn it over and stop talking for a minute. We talked about how, you know, up to the point where we're doing business, these gentlemen are gonna jump in here and tell you what they can do to help along the way.
Absolutely.
I'm gonna take a seat.
Come in.
Sure.
Alright, let's see here. Okay. Brian, thank you. Leona, thank you. Buyers, it's good to see you. If you're not impressed with the town of Davie, you should be impressed. Someone like myself, who actually interacts with a lot of government agencies, I rarely see the generosity in terms of the information that's being put out today. It might sound like it's a lot, but it's part of government contracting. Just getting to know it, and over time, if you put the seat of your pants in this chair, you've invested in yourself today. Okay. So my name is JJ. This is my colleague Tony Lassie. We're part of the Small Business Development Center. The town of Davie has been innovative in a lot of different ways. But one way that they've done is they've actually brought our program to assist small businesses like yourself. Small Business Development Center. We are a no-cost consulting group, and our goal is to support you in all of the different aspects of your small business growth. And so that could be a couple of different things. This is our good-looking group here. And then we cover a gamut of different small business offerings in terms of helping you and supporting you in different areas. A lot of entrepreneurs are just starting out, start with us, and then we have mid-sized businesses, and we have continuing businesses just work with us on business goals from a lot of different areas, okay? And so I'm in this little group, there's this acronym over here. You don't need to know the acronym, it starts with a P. I'm part of the government contracting side of it. But if you're working with someone like my colleague Tony, he's a former banker, 20, 30 years in banking, and he's given up all that money to kind of, you know, work with us and give back to the community and offer his. I didn't mean to make you feel bad. But you get a lot of satisfaction working with small businesses. And it gives him that opportunity to work with you individually. So we are secret keepers. So what we do is, your time with us is completely confidential. And that's on purpose. Because we want to make sure that whatever your challenges are, whatever your goals are, stays with us. Because as a new business, there are going to be conversations you have with us that are proprietary. And we don't have a contract with you, but that's the nature of our program. Our goal is to work with small businesses in such a way that you grow. And you can't grow if we're spilling the secrets to other small businesses that are working with us. So my colleague in the back, Shavante, she is actually helping us market because we're so good at secret keeping that most small businesses don't even know that we exist. So she's helping us, make ourselves more available. I guarantee you, your competition's working with us. I just can't tell you who. And most people think it's just tiny, small business getting out. We actually have sizable businesses, multi-million-dollar businesses that are working with us. You wouldn't know that because we're good at secret keeping, okay? And our role is, as you saw Brian kind of walk through lots of different aspects of doing contracts with the town of Davie, he's being generous. He's really wanting you to do, when you respond to the town of Davie, he wants you to be considered responsive. He doesn't want you to be considered non-responsive. That's the heartbreaker. So you put this huge proposal together and you bring in and you don't sign part of the contract, or you leave the city of Plantation on there, and you unnecessarily embarrass yourself. There's no need for that. You could work with consultants. We're from the government, so we understand government language. And our goal, I'll give you an example of one of my, though I won't tell you who, or I won't give you any proprietary information. What I often do is I'll see a town of Davie solicitation or plantation. The small business will come to me with the solicitation. I look at a draft of their proposal, and we just sync. We just look, and over a couple of meetings, make sure that proposal is nice and ready. And because I've read enough of these, I'll say, hey, did you think about this? Did you think about this? I know this was in the general conditions, but hey, this is how their lawyers are thinking. Or this is in the special conditions. How's your math? So everything that you've heard Brian talk about, practically we'll do that with you. And we want you to respond to pretty novel and innovative agencies like the town of Davie. And the town of Davie is special in this respect because they want you to do well. Because they know that if you service the town of Davie well, you will grow in capacity, and if you're a resident company in the town of Davie, then we're all winners, right? Because now the tax base improves, local businesses in the town of Davie are responding to local solicitations, and it's a virtuous circle. The capital stays in town. There's so much good that happens to that, right? That doesn't mean that I don't help you resident companies outside of the town of Davie. So I'm also helping all the competitors, right? But if you don't know we exist, then you're going to miss out. And our goal is not just in government contracting, but if you need financing, you would work with a consultant like Tony. We've got marketing people. We've got even consultants who work in the artist community. We have consultants who work with nonprofits. So we're just a very broad and deep group of consultants. But the town of Davie is special because they've actually built a relationship with us. And so you have the special opportunity of working with Tony because he's a resident consultant here in town. So he's here. So if you were to register with Shavante in the back, you would immediately connect with him, and he would then connect you with other consultants that's part of our group. So this is the government contracting group that's statewide. And I wanted to kind of just be very quick in my introduction because Brian is doing a fabulous job. Some of the stuff at the back end of this presentation that he has is actually really good because some of it I had to learn on my own, and he's being generous by just explaining it to you. So I want to get out of the way, and it's very nice to meet all of you. Thank you.
Okay, so you kind of opened the door for me for a really good point. This is exactly what you were talking about, local preference. The town of Davie Town Council, before, I think, I'm not sure what year, but before I got here in 16, I think it was probably around 2012, if I'm sure, but enacted an ordinance that put in place what you see on the screen here. town vendor and you're doing business and you come in, just say you come in second, and you're within 5% of the lowest bidder, and they're not a town of Davie vendor, you'll have the availability to do what's called a BAFO, and we'll send you a notice saying that you're in the 5%, you're a local vendor, you can submit another bid, but you have to be 1% below the lowest bidder. Now, if your margins are as tight as they're gonna be, don't cut yourself short. You know, it's one of those things you have to make a business decision on. But if you say, hey, I can move a couple of things and make that, you have a second opportunity, and that is allowed. That's one of the things under our ordinance. So 5%, that happens for the town of Davie, and then they expanded it even farther to Broward County at 2.5%. Davie has 5%, they take preference, then it goes to basically the Broward County at 2.5. And if we don't have Davie in there and there's Broward in there, then we look at Broward. So, but you gotta be, you know, if you're the lowest, you don't have to do anything, you know, as far as that goes, and you won't be, unless you were Broward and we had a Davie behind you, then basically they'd still be able to do that. It gets a little complicated, and I'd have to go into it pretty detailed, but knowing that if your business is in Davie, anybody have a business in Davie here? You do? Okay. So again, you want to talk to us afterward, we can explain it a little bit detailed more. So like I said, as far as the preference aspect of it, but just know that if you're bidding on this and you're not lowest and you come in at 5% range, you'll have a second opportunity to bid. You're just gonna have to come in within the 1%. There's other factors that will come into play that may prohibit you. If there's another Davie that's basically already the lowest, or, you know, those types of things. But again, the ordinance, you gotta go through the ordinance with you to make sure you understand that. Okay. I think we said this already, but how many people have government contracts already? How many people have been legitimately awarded a bid for what? For what?
We're currently working on the bond program for Broward County Public Schools.
So you're a consultant?
Subconsultant.
Subconsultant.
Well, we were awarded recently as a prime a small contract with Miami-Dade County Public Schools to do like multimedia production for.
Okay, so multimedia production. So Leona's your friend in the back there, and we have that. Obviously, we have all kinds of technology and stuff like that. We do our council meetings, we do some of that stuff. So here's the thing. If you have a contract and you've been awarded through GSA, even, like, if you have a GSA contract, if you have a local government contract, national cooperative, CertPro doesn't have any national contracts?
You know, it's individually franchised, so there are a lot of national contracts, but I'm not really sure how it works.
Okay, so it would be in your best interest to look from going to the national corporation and finding out if you have contracts. You may be an affiliate that can utilize those contracts, okay? So you may not know that you're actually, CertPro was awarded a national contract, and you can offer that discount pricing. So what I'm saying is, do your research, call them and say, because again, what I told you, when we get contracts, sometimes, especially bigger companies, they don't push that information down. You know, they don't push it down to their distributors, their affiliates and stuff like that, and they don't do a great job with that. So we have to find out, and then some of them are very key on it, and they use it to their advantage.
If I may, just
Sure.
a second, I want to mention that one of our colleagues does specialize in franchising, and will read the agreement to be able to uncover that.
Oh, great,
So be aware of some of the services that we also provide.
thank you.
Sorry.
No, any information is helpful when it comes to that, because again, I didn't even know that, you know, as far as if you do that service, you know,
Yeah, we
again,
have a dedicated franchise consultant.
that's awesome. See, and again, that's where we can't help you do that, because again, you know, that's not something, but I can advise you, but I can't help you do that. That's where these gentlemen are that second piece. I can give you the information on how, what, when, where we're doing, but these gentlemen give you the means and methods and help in basically getting to that point. So, great relationship. Thank you guys for being part of this. So again, piggybacking, we can utilize these contracts, okay? We're allowed to basically use them under the same terms, conditions. We don't have to go out to bid. We have to make sure it was done through a legitimate process. We have to make sure that they awarded it through an open public bid. They had an award contract, they went to their council, so and so. We have to make sure that that's valid. But at that point, we're gonna give you a document that says, we call it a piggyback contract, and we're gonna say, you agree to basically give us the same terms, conditions offered that you're giving the city of Plantation. And now it becomes our contract. So we didn't have to do the bid, you basically now have a contract with us because Plantation awarded you a bid. And we actually can get the same pricing, terms, and everything. Saves us a lot of time, okay? 17 departments I showed you, right? And I told you that I have 2 other people, so that's 4 people right there. We got a lot of people doing a lot of things, as far as few people doing a lot of things. So again, we would not be able to sustain without this process, okay? We do 155 bids, but if we did that, we didn't piggyback, that number would be up 500, 600 or more. And probably these ladies would not be here. I'd be having new ones every week. So, they'd look like me with the gray hair. But anyway, so this is a very useful tool for us. You should wave this like a flag when you go to an agency, okay? Put it on your business card. Put it right on the back of your business card. If you have a contract that, whatever, and it has a long length of time, stick it right on the back. Just put it there, whatever. When you do that, say, oh, by the way, we have a contract with GSA, we have this, we can access that. That's gonna be an opener for you for a procurement office. Because what they're saying is, okay, you got some of the work done, it may or may not work. It may be a great thing, or it might not work for us. But it's an opener. You come in and you say, I got all these things I wanna do, and my next question, or the department's next question is, great, that's awesome, we love it. How are we gonna get there? How are we going to get there? So they're gonna disappoint you and tell you, well, we gotta talk to our procurement folks. Either we gotta do a competitive bid and you're gonna go up against your competition. And now you're gonna have to put your best foot forward in that competition. If you have that contract, you can step ahead of that by saying, oh, but wait, here's a bid. Now they can look at more seriously because there's a commitment to do some things. And then that's a great step for us. So you've got one step ahead of your competition because you're there talking to them and saying, I got these services, I got these things. Does it line up with what they want to do? Maybe so. And again, you're going forward. Any questions on that? Okay, good.
Also on the piggyback, depending on what the piggyback contract is, you might be a vendor who could join one of those. Like
Well, the piggyback is typically done through an agency. Say, for example, Fort Lauderdale puts out a contract for sand, okay? We can utilize that. You're jumping ahead of me a little bit there, Dave. All right. I'll give you this remote back. Oh, we can.
No,
Nice.
that's a threat. That's what they call it. Sorry, you're a
Yeah, exactly. So cooperatives
Yes.
are a little bit different, okay? So what we have is a little bit different situation. It's still a government contract that we've worked with other government agencies. Again, we have a lot of requirements for different things. You do food catering, right? So here's the thing. You're sitting there going, how do I fit into this mix of things, right? Why am I here today? What would be something that you think you'd be useful in doing?
Especially this.
Okay? So let me ask you, what about when we have a hurricane and we need to have food? Okay? So you're the guy that we're gonna be looking, and we have a contract, and there's agencies that have contracts for food service. So again, you're here, you're doing a good thing for yourself because there's contracts out there, and if you haven't found those, it's time to look because it's a one that we're all looking for and we're trying to find. And I hear this question asked by my peers all the time. Who can we get to do food service? We have one for bulk food. We can buy all the food as far as that goes. We get suppliers. We have nobody to prep it or cook it. we have to have the fire department, they make chili on the side, and do that stuff, and but, they're over there, putting out a fire once a day or whatever, and go make some chili or whatever. But all seriousness, we have to cook it ourselves. But from a catering standpoint, we got other things we gotta take care of. We got roadways to clean, we gotta be, getting government back running again. That's a valuable service. So I can talk to you afterward, get you some point of direction, but again, you're probably thinking, how is this all making sense to me today in this whole big picture? I see you have a great opportunity, and so we can talk about it. But back to my point, cooperatives. We have a cooperative contract for food. I put it out through the town of Davie because we all have a need for it. So we, as the lead agency, decided to talk to our peers. There are 52 agencies in the cooperative area, and we said, we're gonna put this out. And they said, we wanna do this. So they all said, we're gonna participate in this. So our contract now is not just the town of Davie, our contract is 52 agencies, okay? So that amplifies you having a contract with 52 agencies.
Yes.
Do they all wanna use it? Maybe not, but we, as the town, made a decision that we include everybody in it. Everybody that participates in the co-op now has that access to that contract. Their name is in it. They actually have part of that contract, okay? So we do that with other services. If we had disaster cleaning services or things of that nature, and we did that, and I think we did that one contract at one point, didn't we?
For the co-op?
No, for ourselves.
For ourselves.
For ourselves. But again, that could be a co-op contract as well, that basically, we have pipes burst, we backflow, push something into somebody's sewer line and it decides to take out their toilet and their whole bathroom, that's gonna be an insurance cleanup kind of deal or something like that, or we have a pipe break in one of our buildings, we gotta have that type of service on hand. So again, these things are real relevant for us, and they happen. So we gotta have these things on standby to be able to call somebody and know what we're getting for our pricing and not get gouged by it, by somebody coming and saying, well, now you're in an emergency situation, you don't know what you're pricing, you're not prepared for it. So we have to bid that stuff out. So again, we all have these needs from different government agencies, so we work together to bid these as a group. And that is just a local one we have. It's the Southeast Florida group of cooperative group. There's national ones, one called Sourcewell. There's one called Omnia Partners. There's a million of them out there that are larger national chains. And for ServPro, that's why I was saying you need to find out, because ServPro is a national company. They are a large national company. You need to talk to your parent company and ask them if there are any national contracts that you can actually participate in, that you can come to the town of Davie and say, we have a contract with this under this cooperative, speak to our public works folks, and they may go, yeah, we'll put that on standby, and if we need you, we're gonna be calling you using that pricing, okay? So that is where these things come into play. These cooperatives are different than just a piggyback. Piggyback is really just an agency that's gone out for bid, and we wanna use that contract for the same services. And, we're gonna form that agreement with you. Cooperatives, we're part of that already. We're already part of that. We're gonna still have you sign a document that says, yes, we agree that you're part of that, but it's still because we always wanna have that. We get into issues with the federal government on some things, or grant agencies that say, where's your commitment to them? Well, we're part of the co-op. They need a little bit more sometimes. So we do it as a matter of practice. But as a co-op, we're really part of it anyway. But piggybacks that agency doesn't know that you ever plan to use that. Cooperatives know that we're all gonna be using this together, and that is the bigger arena. So when you're looking at these, you're saying, oh, this is a cooperative, this means that there's more people involved than just one agency. This is a bigger picture. Just a regular bid, you could be using it as a sale tactic for yourself to be selling it off to another agency saying, I'll sell you these goods and products under this bid solicitation, and you can utilize this as a piggyback. Am I clear on that? Everybody, because it confuses some people. I just want to make sure it's good. It is confusing. Okay, so here's some just the basic fundamentals of what we do as far as we look at the best value through competition, we wanna make sure that, you know, we're spending public dollars. You know, we're spending those public dollars and we're treating them as our dollars the same. You know, we look at what's fair and equitable. We wanna make sure that we have qualified vendors. You know, these are important things because we don't wanna have somebody that says, hey, I'm a qualified vendor, I'm coming out to bid for landscaping, and, you know, we're gonna vet you. We're gonna make sure that you have everything. You know, we need to have all the right-of-ways done in the town. And you're coming in and putting a bid in, and you got 2 long push mowers and a goat, and you're saying, hey, I can cut all the right-of-ways. You know, that's not gonna work. You're not gonna ramp up your bid with equipment and stuff like that. You have to have all that equipment. So we look at making sure we have qualified people that are doing this. They're doing something. And again, our transparency, that's where we really hang our hat. We wanna be transparent in our processes. We wanna make sure that you can see what we're doing through our processes. We're not perfect, okay? I don't think anybody in this room, if you are perfect, please let me know, because I'd like to talk to you about lottery numbers or whatever. But, we're human, just like everybody else, and we make mistakes. And if you see a mistake, say something. If it's something that we can explain it, if it's not a mistake, but we're transparent in that process to make sure that if you do see something, say something, okay? It's very valuable. It could be in our best interest for you to bring that up. We made a mistake and gone the wrong direction, and it could have wound up spending us more money. We could have wound up basically spending more money on that contract. So again, it's up to you. Speak up, say something. Don't just go, oh, that's the way it is. I didn't win. You know, but again, don't say because I'm the best. You know, I'm much better than them. You know, that's sour apples, right? So sour grapes or whatever you want to call it. All right, and then again, maximum disclosure of benefits to the public. Last thing here. On November 17th this year, for the 21st year, we're going to be doing a reverse trade show at Coral Springs. I have flyers up here. Reverse trade show, what is that? Well, you know what a trade show is, right? So basically a trade show is, you go in, you've got all these vendors set up their booths, and you know, you look at their stuff as we as companies and stuff like that go in and look, or agencies. We flip it around. We set up tables as government agencies. Remember I talked about those 52 agencies? We bring 52 agencies, or as many as we possibly can, to Coral Springs. We set up tables just like this. We talk to you about doing business. You know, we actually do that. So from a sales call standpoint, you now have access to 52 possible agencies. I'm using the number of basically how many people are in the co-op. I don't know if they'll all show up, but we bring our police department, we bring our public works people, we bring some other folks, and you get to talk to them. And you get to basically have that interaction. What are your needs? What are at this event? And it's a great time to basically go and interact with those agencies just to get your foot in the door to say, hey, Servpro, I got my contract, I got my national contract, use my contract, this is what I'm here locally, I can be, you know, taking care of your services right away, kind of thing like that. This is a great day to do this, and we see, we haven't done it since 2 years now because of COVID, so we anticipate that we'll see a lot of people, but
I'm coming.
yeah, it's really a great informational day, and you may find some crossover. You know, one of those things that you'll find some. Hey, I talked to this guy, and I can work with this guy. That happens just the same. And one thing I was a little bit remiss in, and I don't mean to jump back too far. When we put out bid advertisements, when you see these, like for example, construction bids, okay? You're in bonding, right? So you do bonding for public bid bonds, right? That's what you're looking for, right? You're looking for all the construction and those types of things. Going to pre-bids and stuff like that, if you're in pumps and motors and things of that nature, and there might be a pump that they need, if you rent them, if you have rentals or anything like that, or you do stuff, you can go to those bids. You may not be bidding on our contract. It might not be the prime, but you could be a sub. And those primes are there. And a lot of times we see at bid conference, pre-bids and stuff like that, we'll see a room full of people. And we're like, wow, this is crazy. How many people are here? There's like 3 or 4 primes sitting in a room, but a lot of them are subcontractors, and they're talking to the primes in that, saying, hey, I'd like to bid on this job with you, or I'd like to bid on this job. And they're basically marketing themselves out in those arenas. So again, that's another opportunity for you when you're looking at these, expand your mind a little bit to think about, it's not just about that one project. How do you now know that there's a project going on? You could get a piece of that. So just think about it that way,
We're
you know?
still doing a lot of the in-person?
Yeah, we do a hybrid. Sometimes we basically sometimes we'll do, you know, if we do technological ones or something that basically doesn't really need to be, or if it's pre-bid only, we'll do it, but we're trying to do more and more in person. We find it's a better interaction, you
So
know?
would you be the person to contact to see if it's in person?
Rebecca, well, it'll say it on the document. It'll say basically, either it'll provide a web address with a WebEx address, or it'll basically be, and you can pull those lists down. And again, if anybody that you missed it, you can pull the list of the pre-bid attendees, you know, just the
It's
same.
not a construction journal, but it seems like it's,
So, yeah, so Construction Trade Journal, and nothing against anybody like that, none of them. The information, sometimes they're scraping services, they're pulling that off and they're not getting, when we use Demand Star and when we use our own stuff, it's us behind the computer pushing that information out, okay? It's us doing that. Those services are grabbing that information from other feeds, and sometimes it's inaccurate. And I've gotten people calling about a fire station plantation, and I'm like, where did you find it? And they said, I got it from the bid service, but the information was wrong, and it sent you down a path of wasting your time. But just understand, when we talk about Demand Star and we talk about ours, we're the ones driving that information out. So that's the last I have. Talked a lot, I know. But if you have any questions after today, call Rebecca. No.
He loves it.
No. I'm only kidding. You can call us. Like I said, if there's things, we'll be happy to talk with you. We'll be happy to sit with you. Again, our goal is your success is our success too, because again, you know, you can, once you submit something, these ladies are gonna be able to go through it and it's gonna make sense to them. They're not gonna be going, oh my gosh, I gotta go through all this information again. You know, that helps you. These gentlemen, again, are valuable. They can help you with that to make a better proposal that, you know, so it makes sense to these folks. We know what they're thinking and, you know, what they're looking for. We can help you along the way. Thank you very much for your time today. I hope this was helpful, and we will be happy to have any conversations if you want. I'll stick around for a few minutes. We can chat, but if not, we're done, and have a great weekend.